In this video, we take a look at 100 of my favorite macOS 26 Tahoe features. But first, a word from our sponsor. 9to5Mac is brought to you by iMazing, which is already compatible with iOS 26 and the iPhone 17 lineup. iMazing gives users access to their devices in ways that Apple's own tools don't. From PDF exports of messages, to WhatsApp and voicemail backups, to more logs and system diagnostics, and local time machine style backup snapshots. iMazing enables flexible data transfer between devices and computers, including photos, music, documents, messages, apps, and more, selectively, no cloud sync required. For business users, there's device management workflows, renaming devices, configuring supervision, managing apps, and setting up multiple devices consistently. It's not just for IT professionals, but also families, educators, and tech-savvy individuals. And it's available on macOS and Windows, a key distinction in a world where many iPhone users manage their devices from a PC. On macOS, it goes far beyond Finder's limited sync options, and for Windows, it fills a critical gap that Apple doesn't address. Click the link in the description for a limited 20% discount on all licenses. Special thanks to iMazing for sponsoring 9to5Mac. Like iOS 26 and iPadOS 26 and tvOS 26, macOS Tahoe features a brand new redesign. And let's first of all talk about the dynamic wallpaper, because like each new release of macOS, it gets a brand new flagship wallpaper. This one's it for Tahoe. It looks like waves, as you can see there, and it's a dynamic wallpaper, so it will come to a stop at a unique point each time you unlock your Mac. And you have light and dark versions. Here's the dark version. Let's preview that. And they both look really good. I definitely like these wallpapers. They're not too distracting. And it also complements the liquid glass redesign as well, with the new clear icons, the transparent menu bar, updated widgets, etc. So let's go ahead and lock our device here. And you can see right there with the time on the screen how the waves move with this dynamic wallpaper. Now, there are quite a few brand new landscape wallpapers in macOS Tahoe, starting with Tahoe Day. You get Tahoe Morning. You get Tahoe Evening. Tahoe Night. Goa Beaches. Goa Coast. Through Himalayas. Himalayas Day. The Ganges, I guess is how you pronounce it. Gansali from above. Himalayan peaks. I know people are going to say, what are you saying Himalaya? It's Himalaya. Tea gardens from above. Tea Gardens Day. Reservoir Day. And finally, Tea Gardens Mist. Which one is your favorite? Let me know down below. And one of the really cool new features in macOS Tahoe is the new transparent menu bar. So you can see here, you get a full bleed wallpaper that isn't interrupted by the menu bar, and all the menu bar icons just appear on top of the wallpaper like that, while still allowing you to retain that full bleed wallpaper. And another thing you'll notice here are the little indicators for adjusting things like volume and brightness. That has the whole liquid glass design, looks really good. And you can see how that wallpaper extends from top to bottom, and then you have your menus over here. I'm a big fan of the full bleed wallpaper and that translucent or transparent menu bar for sure. Now, if you're not, you can go to Settings Menu Bar, which is a new setting or a new preference in Tahoe, and you'll find where it says Show Menu Bar Background. So you can turn that background back on if you want to, but honestly, I personally think it looks better with the background off. In Tahoe, you also get redesigned sidebars. So they incorporate the, of course, liquid glass design. And these will appear across all of Apple's apps like Safari, Apple Music, Podcasts, News, etc. And it just makes everything feel a little bit more immersive. It's actually translucent, so you can see the background slightly behind that sidebar as you move it across. And you can see the color sort of bleed through just very, very, very subtly. But not a major change, but it definitely looks more modern and matches the new aesthetic. Speaking of which, you get rounder windows now as well, and that sort of matches the corner radius of your dock, and it looks really good. And it's interesting because on the Mac, you get a 90-degree angle in the corners, but on an iPad, you get rounded corners. So it just makes you wonder what future Macs and Mac displays will look like. And just like on the iOS, you also get redesigned app icons. And these are drastic redesigns compared to their predecessors. You can see the liquid glass design with the multiple layers, for instance, on the App Store, or even the apps icon right here, which replaces the Launchpad. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But you can see books. So they're all multiple layers of glass, especially photos. You can see that. And you can also customize these icons with light and dark tint as well. And we're going to talk about that now. So you have the updated dock, as you can see below, and it too has a liquid glass transparency going on for it. But you see all the app icons there. Updated new trash icon as well, which is kind of cool. But now you also get clear icons and widgets. So if you go to the settings and you go to appearance, you're going to see icon and widget style. So you have your default, which is what we just saw. You have dark, clear, and tinted. So now we're going to select clear, and you can really see how those icons are now transparent. And it doesn't stop there, because you can also switch between a light version of the liquid glass clear icons and a dark version. So let me show you the dark version. Here it is. Looks really good on this wallpaper. And you can see that transparency. There's the light again. There's also light tinted icons and widgets. So previously when you had tint, it was a dark tint, but now you have a light tint option. So you can see light, and here's dark. Personally, I've never been a fan of the tinting either here or on iOS, but you know, it's nice to have choices. Another thing you'll appreciate are the new glyphs in the menu. Next to each menu option, you'll see a new little glyph, and that sort of helps you to quickly discern what that option is without even having to read what it is. For instance, back, you see the back arrow, zoom, you see the zoom indicator, etc. Now, Control Center finally gets a noteworthy update here on the Mac, because Control Center just wasn't really up to snuff in previous versions of macOS. Now you get some real good customization, and it all starts with the new controls gallery. So now you actually have a list of controls that are ordered by different sections that you can choose different types of controls to add directly to Control Center. It's just really easy to do. Very iOS-like in its design, but you also have new controls like the ability to add a timer directly to Control Center. But it doesn't stop there. There's all sorts of new controls that you'll appreciate. For instance, the ability to show your desktop if you want to do that. There's a show desktop toggle that you can add directly to your Control Center. And like I said, there's others, the ability to start screensaver and more. And like on iOS, you can now rearrange and resize these various controls. So if you go to edit, you can't drag like you do on iOS using drag handles, but if you right click on one of them, you can choose between a small, a medium, or a large widget, just like that. So I can switch to large. It's going to move everything out of the way. And you also have custom pages. So you have multiple pages just like you do on iOS. So if you hit this little plus button while in edit mode, you'll see these extra pages that you can add. So I'll just add this home one. And now I can just go over to my controls gallery and then drag over whatever I want over to this new page like this. So, you know, some home accessory stuff for the home tab makes sense, right? So now I have two pages for Control Center. As you can see here, I have my home, and then I also have my original Control Center page right here. So I can easily switch between those two on the fly. There's also the presence, finally, of third-party controls right here within Control Center. So you can add those. For instance, this one's for things. So if I want to add a new project or a new to-do directly to Control Center where I can enact that, I can do so just like that. So just click. And now it opens up the things shortcut prompt so I can type in my new to-do, and that adds it directly to my things inbox. Super simple. Now you also have controls that you can place in the menu bar. So if I edit controls, I can actually drag a control, like let's find one. How about AirDrop? Drag that directly to the menu bar, takes it out of Control Center, puts it in the menu bar, and there I can access it there. But I can also drag it back, of course. And I can add something directly from the Control Center gallery just by right-clicking and selecting Add to Menu Bar instead, and that will add that directly to the menu bar. There's my clock app. So now let's talk personalization. So there's automatic app icon tinting now. So of course you have the ability to change your wallpaper to light or dark, or choose auto, which will switch between the two based on time of day. Well, the same thing is available for tinting. So you have the light or dark tint options, and you can change the tint from automatic wallpaper based tinting to a specific color, in this case orange, switch between dark and light, or go with auto mode and it'll switch between the two based on time of day. So that's a really nice way to personalize your experience, but it doesn't stop there. You also have a custom lock screen typeface. So if you go to settings and go to wallpaper, you'll see where it says clock appearance. You click that, and now you can choose between 6 different types of clock styles. You can choose where to show the clock on the lock screen, on the screensaver, or never. And these different clock styles allow you to switch, well, at least most of them allow you to switch between different types of font weights. So you can adjust like that, and you can see it displayed right there in the preview. Let's go ahead and look at it and see what it looks like. There is my updated lock screen clock with a very slim font weight. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. And there's now the ability to choose a default folder color for all your folders in macOS. So I can go from automatic to red or orange or whatever the case may be. You can see the red is updated. Those folders on the desktop, folders that are in the dock, folders that are in your Finder. Yes, I know I say folder weird. I'm sure someone will remind me in the comments, but as you can see here, all the various folders are now red. Pretty cool. So that's system-wide, right? But there's also prominent folder tagging, which is a little bit different. So if you go down to customize folder after right-clicking, you can actually tag a folder. And when you do so, that tag is going to be applied not only to the little dot next to the name of the folder, but also the folder itself. So it changes to that orange color because it's an orange tag. I could switch to green, and you can see it changes to the last tag that you add. But the default folder color remains the same. It's still red. So if you remove all the tags, it'll go back to red. But there's also the ability to add emoji or symbols directly to your folder. So you just go back to customize, and now you can go down this whole list of glyphs that you can add a specific symbol to a folder. So if you really want to customize the look of a folder, if it's for a specific thing like 9to5Mac, I'll put a picture of a iMac there on top of it. But I can also go even further, customize with an emoji. And now we can really take it up a notch here. You can see a little smiley face with the heart eyes. And I could switch the color of the tag. Remove those tags like that. I like the yellow. Looks pretty cool. So that's a nice way to customize in macOS Tahoe. Now, Spotlight gets a massive upgrade here that really may make you switch from your third-party launcher back to Spotlight, but we'll see, right? We'll see how that works out for us. But one of the things is intelligent surfacing. So basically, when you type in F, it knows I use Final Cut all the time, so it's going to surface Final Cut Pro first. Or if I do an S, it's going to surface Slack first because I use Slack all the time. So it just knows or learns your usage habits and will surface those intelligently. Now, you also have, finally, quick website search. So if you type in YouTube, you tab over, you can search directly on YouTube just by typing in your search terms, pressing return, and it will search YouTube for whatever you search for directly from Spotlight. No Command B necessary. Pretty cool. Apple also says you can easily get to your recent screenshots by simply typing /screenshots in Spotlight. I found this a little bit janky. It didn't really work like I was expecting, but what have you experienced? Let me know. And history, you finally can go back in your Spotlight history, just like you could with terminal commands, just pressing the up arrow on your keyboard to go through your history of commands like that. And you can search windows and tabs. So if you have this window open for Electrek, for instance, I can search for that, find that directly within Spotlight. It'll surface that right there from your open tabs. So that's nice. Or if I have the M5 MacBook article minimized in the dock, I can easily find that again directly from Spotlight search. Another thing you can do is to get Siri and ChatGPT answers directly within Spotlight. So I can type something like, I don't know, what can I make with 2 eggs, bread, an avocado, and salmon? And then I can just say, hey, ask ChatGPT. So we'll click on that. It's going to go out to ChatGPT, working with it, and then it's going to provide the answer from ChatGPT just like that. So it tells me what I can make with those ingredients. Sounds pretty gross, but hey, to each their own. Now, when you open Spotlight and if you move your cursor, you'll see those 4 little options. That first one is going to be applications. So you can search for applications directly from Spotlight. And there's several ways to do this. Obviously, you can just type in the application, or when you open Spotlight, hold Command and then press 1. It jumps right to applications and it will filter based on application. So if I type in the name of an app that I want to launch, I can do so right there. I can also use my Launchpad, which previously would open up a dedicated Launchpad window, but now it just opens up directly to applications within Spotlight Search. So the way that Launchpad really, it doesn't even exist anymore. This is its own little thing with Spotlight Search directly for applications, and you can filter on those things as well, as you saw. You can also browse for actions, which is Command 3. And the various actions that it gives you allows you to perform all sorts of different things based on shortcuts. So for instance, if I want to generate a random number, I can add that action and go ahead and customize that action right there from Spotlight and run it directly from Spotlight. You can get the results directly within Spotlight. As you can see there, it's randomly generating those numbers, which is really cool. You can also browse files directly from Spotlight, Command 2, or just go over to files. You can see here, it gives me various suggestions, my recents, but I can also filter on those file types as well. If I want to just find stuff that's openable with preview, I can just click preview. It'll filter on all those file types there. For instance, with screenshots. So as you can see, Spotlight is just a lot more useful here in Tahoe, but it doesn't stop there. You can also browse your clipboard finally, right? Clipboard search finally in macOS natively. You got to turn that on, but once you do, it's very, very minimalistic. It's very, very rudimentary, I guess you could say, compared to some clipboard managers, but Command 4 will open up Clipboard Manager, and there you can find all your recent clippings. You can copy those just directly from the Spotlight menu. Just click here. So if I want to copy that text, I can do so. Let's open up things and we'll just paste that directly in this things note, just like that. That's directly from Spotlight, which is handy. And we can also copy an image. So if I want to do that, I can copy this image and then I can open up preview and then paste from clipboard, just like that. So again, powerful stuff for Spotlight. You also get personalized and recent actions. So your recent actions is going to suggest those for you. I just did a random number earlier. It knows that that's something I recently used, so it surfaces that up front. But it doesn't stop there because there's also actions from the menu bar. Now this is really cool. So here, Safari, you see export as PDF. That's an option under File. Well, now when you have Safari open, you can actually find that directly from Spotlight. It's smart enough to know, hey, you're using Safari in the foreground. When you search for Spotlight, it's going to surface those commands so you can quickly execute those commands without having to go up to your menu bar. So you can do this all from your keyboard. Super simple, super easy, and very handy, I think. What do you guys think? And like other launchers, there's also quick keys. You can assign special little quick keys to these various actions. So I want to assign random number to a quick key. We'll call it RN for random number. So now when I type in RN in Spotlight search, it's going to surface random number, just like that. Now I can just press return and it can start generating my random numbers just like that. Now there's also contextual awareness. So it knows I am in Notes app right now. So it's going to suggest things to do in Notes. For instance, I can delete that note that I'm working in right there from Spotlight search. Now let's talk about continuity. Apple has brought live activities to macOS in macOS Tahoe. So now when I open up iPhone mirroring and I connect to my iPhone, and that of course allows you to access all your apps on your iPhone from the little mirroring display, which I'll show you here in a second. This launched last year in last year's update with Sequoia, and now you can basically build on that and take advantage of live activities from mirrored apps that are running on your phone. Pretty cool stuff here. So we're going to go ahead and authenticate this iPhone mirroring session. You can see it here. So here's all my apps, and you can see that information in the dynamic island. And that is, as you can see, a live activity. And that same live activity will appear here in the menu bar now on macOS automatically. Even if you close out of your mirroring session, that live activity is going to remain available for you. Now, it doesn't just stop there. You can actually expand those live activities just by clicking on them and see actual information pertaining to that activity, of course, which totally makes sense, works just like it does on iOS. But not just that, you can also launch an iPhone mirroring session directly into the app that relates to that live activity right there from iPhone mirroring. Now, continuing on continuity, Apple has brought the phone app to the Mac for the very first time. And of course, this will connect to your iPhone via continuity and allow you to interface and make calls and view your recents and do basically everything you could do on the phone app on iOS right there from your Mac. So you can open up the dialer, for instance, and dial a number, or you can access your voicemails or access your recent calls. There's even all the new features that Apple has built into phone with filtering and call screening and all that goodness. So that's all built into the phone app here on macOS. And frankly, it just makes sense. You just wonder why it took so long for Apple to bring the phone app to the Mac, but we're glad that it's here, right? So you can, of course, view your recents, view your contacts. You have even the full poster view, and that can be customized based on the person's avatar, contact poster, etc. You can, of course, initiate the phone call from that contact poster, and you can see the little phone call interface in the upper right-hand corner. But beyond that, Apple has also built in all the new features that have come to iOS's phone app. For instance, you have the ability to initiate Hold Assist, which is accessible via the little More button here. So if I click the More button, I have Hold Assist. You also have things like a live translation and, of course, call recording as well. So Apple has added a lot of Apple Intelligence features to the Mac in macOS Tahoe. It starts with live translation, which just like the iOS counterpart, you can access that within apps like the Messages app. So you can go in there, select automatically translate, download your various language that you want to choose to translate. And then once you do that, then you can just start typing in that native language like this. So I'll just say merci, and that translates to thanks, or I say merci beaucoup, and that translates over to thank you very much, just like this. And Tahoe also gives you access to automations within shortcuts. So this is extremely powerful. You can automatically execute things based on time of day, or there's various triggers like whether your Mac is charging, or whether a display is connected, or when the Mac connects to your home Wi-Fi, or an external drive is connected. There's all sorts of different triggers that you can use to set up automations here on your Mac. So I'm going to set up an automation based on time of day, and I'll just set it for 129 to run immediately, next, and then I can have it perform any of these actions. So I'll just say open app when it hits that time of day, and I'll choose the app. We'll just select the clock app here. And once we do that, we can go ahead and just wait until we reach 129. And then once we do, that automation is going to automatically launch, and it's going to launch the clock app because that's what I chose as an action, just like that. So really nice to have that feature in Tahoe. And macOS Tahoe brings intelligent actions to the Shortcuts app. And this allows you to use a model like Private Cloud Compute or On-Device or ChatGPT to perform various requests. So I can select Use ChatGPT, type in my query. For instance, what day does DST end? Run that query, and it will return results from ChatGPT just like that. Pretty cool. But of course, it doesn't just stop there. You can do all sorts of things. For instance, you can use writing tools, drag that right in there to adjust the tone of the text. So I could say, make whatever I get from a response from ChatGPT, make that concise. And then I can build on that. And for instance, drag create image from Image Playground over there and use that concise writing tools result from my ChatGPT query to create an image. So I'll say, what day does DST end? Run it, and let's see what we get as an image. It just has a clock there. So, okay, maybe we can change that query a little bit. What does a video game console look like? Run that again. It's going to concise that answer, and then it's going to build that image based on that answer. There you go. And Genmoji gets some enhancements. So now you can actually combine multiple emoji to create a custom emoji. So just select Genmoji from Image Playgrounds, then go ahead and select one or more existing emoji. You can also describe that emoji and add the description in there with it. And this is the result. And there's image playgrounds enhancements. So the styles that you had before, animation, illustration, and sketch, they have been expanded with new ChatGPT styles. So you have oil painting, watercolor, vector, anime, and print. So I chose print. I'm going to share my image with ChatGPT, and it's going to create an image based on my image there in print form. But that's not all. You can also add text-based characteristics. So you can say, hey, I want a sad expression for that particular image, and it's going to create or generate the new image with a sad expression. Just like this. All right, so there's the sad expression, but you can also change characteristics like the type of clothes you're wearing. So you can say wearing a basketball jersey, and it's going to create that image now updated with the sad expression based on the print style using my original image with a basketball jersey. So there you go. Pretty cool stuff there. Let's go ahead and save that guy. So what are your thoughts on the new styles? Let me know. And now you can also create files directly from ChatGPT. So I could say something like make a spreadsheet with 2 columns, one column with each letter of the alphabet and the other column with the number corresponding to the letter. See if you can decipher what I mean there. So it's working with ChatGPT, it's creating the file, and then it'll present the file to download here. So I can just save that to my desktop or save it to download rather, and open it up, and let's see how it did. And yeah, it did really well. The letters 1 through 26 organized just like that. You can also follow up on responses. So I could say, what are some good dance songs from the 60s? It provides me a list. And now that very first one, I just say, play the first one. And it knows that I meant twist and shout, and it starts playing it just like that. You also get improved formatting support and writing tools. So you can see I have some formatting there, underline, and I also have a link. So I'm going to convert this over to a professional tone, and watch what happens. It retains the underline and the link in their relative spots, even though it's different text. Now, there are loads of accessibility features that have come to macOS Tahoe, starting with the Magnifier app coming to the Mac now. It will use your iPhone as the sort of viewfinder and present that via continuity right there on your desktop, which is really nice. So you can, of course, magnify things. You can make text a lot larger or whatever you're looking at a lot larger. And that's really nice. So if you're having trouble reading something small, it's easy to make that much larger right there on your Mac. But not just that, you can take photos of those images there, of the blown up text, but you can also turn on reader mode, which will basically take the text that it sees and show that text that's very easy to read now right there on your desktop, and you can take action on that. You can actually play it back if you want to. You can listen to the text. Of course, you can copy it and paste it wherever else you want to use it. But I really like the ability to play back what I captured, just like this.
The #1 New York Times bestseller, Leonardo da Vinci, by the author of the New York Times bestsellers, Steve Jobs and Einstein.
So that's pretty cool, but you can also do other things like adjust contrast, brightness. There's even filters that you can set up. You can straighten your image if you want to do that. And I can see this being a very handy tool for those that are visually impaired, or even if you're just getting older and you need readers, this can come in clutch in those situations. There's also vehicle motion cues on the Mac. So this is a feature that came to iOS first last year, and this basically makes it so it reduces or helps to reduce motion sickness when using your laptop, in this case, in the car. So vehicle motion cues can also be customized with their own colors. You can change the dots and much more. Very handy if you like to use your laptop in the car, but find yourself getting a little nauseous when doing so. Another brand new feature is name recognition, which is under accessibility, and this will allow you to receive a notification anytime your Mac hears a name. So first you just type in your name, and it'll give you a computerized version of that name.
Jeff.
But you can also record your name. Jeff. Like this, Jeff. One more time, Jeff. And that can give you some more accurate results. So in this case, if someone says one of the names that are configured here, in this case, Ducky or Jeff, Ducky, it will notify you. Like that. Jeff. super handy for those hard of hearing. There's also Braille Access, which also came to iOS 26 for the first time. You'll find it under VoiceOver Utility Settings, under Braille, Braille Access. This allows you to quickly access Braille notes, BRF files, and more using a Braille display. And Apple also brings accessibility nutrition labels to the Mac App Store, so you can see supported accessibility features for those apps that support them. And that makes it easier for the end user to find apps that support accessibility from the jump. There's also improved personal voice setup. So this is a secure way to create a voice that sounds like you, just in case you ever are in danger of losing your voice or whatever the case may be. Well, you can create a personal voice. The cool thing about how this is done now is it's much, much faster and easier to create a personal voice, and it sounds better. So I'm going to call this Ducky's personal voice, continue. Now I want you to find a quiet place. And then you just basically speak these phrases. You only have to do it 10 times, whereas in the past it was a lot more. It took a lot longer. So now I'm creating a personal voice with my Mac. All right, so let's listen to that and just check how it sounds. I'm creating a personal voice with my Mac. All right, so now we continue and just follow the prompts. He was named to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1970. Fireweeds and other wildflowers grow in many parts of the province. So you do this 10 times. We're going to cut it short here. I'm not going to show you all of them, but it only takes about a minute to generate after you finish the prompts. This is Ducky's personal voice. So not perfect, but certainly sounds better than it used to. This is Ducky's personal voice. What do you think? So most of the features from iOS 26's Messages update have been implemented here in macOS Tahoe. That includes backgrounds, so you get all your various background selections here. So this first one, the color background, you can customize the background color, and it's animated. And all parties involved in the conversation can see these updated backgrounds. You can even select backgrounds based on image playgrounds. So you can create one on the fly. And we'll do that just now. Let's go ahead and set that. So there you go. So everybody's going to see that in this conversation. There's also the sky background. It too is animated. You have water. You can change various parameters there. And aurora as well. Purple, pink, green. Pretty nice. You have your various photos, suggestions down below, so you can just choose one of those if you want to as well. You also have support for adding polls to your messages. So you just click the plus button, you'll see polls down at the bottom, select that, and then you can put in your various choices. So choice number 1, let's see, what should we make our poll about? How about Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon? How about that? Those are our choices. Which company do you like the best? There we sent it, and now everybody can vote on their selection. So I'll just go ahead and click, and there's my vote. So you can imagine if you're trying to go to dinner and you have a family chat going, this is a great way to poll everybody. You also have group typing indicator. So previously, if you had a group message, you didn't get the typing indicators for each individual participant. Now you do. So that's a definite welcome addition. It's going to make it a lot more handy just to have an idea of what's going on there. And there's also text filters. So you have the ability to filter things like spam. You have your recently deleted. You have your unread messages, or you can manage filtering and really take it to another level because there's the ability to screen unknown senders. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. So when you select screen unknown senders, you can choose notifications that you want to receive from various different notification types like time-sensitive, personal, transactions, promotions. But now when you have that enabled, when you go back to the Messages app and you click the little filter button, now you'll see all these other categories like transactions, promotions, alongside the original filters. Now, Reminders gets several updates. Quick reminders. Now you can perform a reminder directly using Spotlight, of course, and that's possible just by assigning a quick key. So we'll just call it RE. So now whenever I want to create a new reminder, just type in RE, and now I can tab over, put in my reminder details there. So walk the dog, add it to my personal reminder list, and there it goes. You also get suggested reminders. So for instance, here on this note, I can just highlight all that text and then share it to the reminders app like this. And now you're going to see those suggestions it provides based on what all I had highlighted. So I can add any or all of these different suggestions to my reminder like that. So you just click the plus button by each one you want to add, and then click the add button in the bottom right hand corner. Now let's open up our reminders, and you're going to see all those new items in my personal list. And there's the ability to auto categorize. So you see all these unrelated or relatively unrelated things here in this list. But now if you go to auto categorize, you're going to see it's going to try to group all these different items into respective categories. Doesn't always get it right. As you can see here, basketball players, Bowser, right? Messi, Mbappe. No, that's not right. It does get some of the areas right, but you're definitely going to want to verify for sure. And you also get time zone support for individual items on your list. So you can go in there, and when you choose time, you can go and choose a specific time zone and override the default time zone with your time zone of choice. And that'll be reflected within the list itself once you add that in, as you'll see right here. So the Photos app gets some updates as well, like pin collections, which you can see there in the sidebar, favorites, recently saved, etc. You also get to customize your collections view, so you can reorder like this and change your collections view around. So I can put memories down here. Oh, actually, let's drag it again. Put memory, oh, it's not working. Let's see. See if we can get this working. Interesting. Okay, so, all right. Recent days, that seems to be working. It's a little glitchy, but there we go. So it is working now. You can rearrange all those various categories to your liking, then click done, and it rearranges those as you desired. So just a really nice thing to have the ability to customize the layout of your collections in Photos. And you can also sort and filter now. So if you click the filter button, you can see all items, favorites, edited, photos, videos. So let's filter on videos. Just like that, now it's only going to show videos. Super handy, right? Tahoe also brings about a full color photos widget that you can add to your desktop. So even if you have another application open, the picture of the duck is going to show in full color regardless. And now you can actually hide the sidebar in the Photos app as well, which is just going to make it all the better for viewing your content without distractions. And Safari gets several changes. For instance, you get the liquid glass toolbar at the top, and you can kind of see how that's working with the background. You see, now that we've zoomed in, watch what happens when the sampler image goes underneath the toolbar and the tabs. You can see that underneath subtly thanks to that liquid glass design. I don't know, it's a nice effect. I like it. You also get a slightly refreshed sidebar in Safari that includes sections to help you find content like recently saved and iCloud tabs, etc. So subtle change, but a change nonetheless. And like on iOS, you get enhanced privacy. So instead of having the fingerprint detection limited to just private browsing, if you go into advanced under settings and you go to, where is that at? There you go. Use advanced tracking and fingerprint protection. You can see now in all browsing, that is the default setting when installing macOS Tahoe from scratch. And you also get skip ability in picture-in-picture windows now. So I'm going to initiate a picture-in-picture viewer for this video. And you can see the skip forward and skip back 10 seconds options, which were previously not available in picture-in-picture. And you get a brand new Games app, of course. This also came to iOS and iPadOS. So this is like a culmination of all your games for your library, Apple Arcade, of course, all your friends, and the home screen, which shows all the latest and greatest, newest games. But basically, if you're gaming, this is where you want to go. This is the new destination. Instead of going to the Mac App Store, this is where you're going to be able to install games directly from this. You're going to be able to play games directly, launch games directly from this. And I'll show you here. All you do is click play, and that will launch that game seamlessly. So just click play, launches just like that. And we can start playing Crossy Road Castle. But the nice thing is the game overlay, which appears in the upper right hand corner. So this allows you to access things like now playing, your achievements, leaderboard, so you can scroll through there, see all the various achievements that you have, check the leaderboards. You also have your friends and contacts, and you have your game settings for display, sound, whether you have a controller attached, or for turning game mode on or off. You can adjust those right from there. You can always access that whenever you're playing a game at any time. And let's talk about everything else. So Notes gets Markdown exports. So with the Note open, if you go to File, Export As, you can select Markdown. And now it's going to take into account all the formatting there and present it in a Markdown view. So you can easily import that to any other application. You also have Notes phone transcription. So if you record a conversation with a phone app, now it will create a note with that transcription in that note. And you also get password history in the Passwords app, which is a great new feature. Glad to see that's finally here. So you can see when passwords were changed and the corresponding passwords that they were changed to for each of those history items. And you also get podcast speed adjustments. So just like on iOS, you can go in here and click the speed and choose faster, slower, or you can choose one of the increments. You also have the ability to customize it on a show-by-show basis. So if I apply a speed to this show and say save it for the show, then it's going to apply to every episode of that show here in the podcast app. So I'm going to go to this show and go to a different episode, and you can see it's set to 1.5. TV app gets a redesign, so you get these nice little, I guess you can call them posters that just looks a little bit more modern than the previous TV app. Of course, you get a liquid glass, you get the sidebar, etc. And this one's a biggie. Journal finally comes to both the iPad and the Mac after previously only being available on iOS. So now the Journal app's going to sync everything with iCloud, and that's going to bring in all your journal entries over there. The cool thing about Journal now is that you can have multiple journals, add new ones. I created one earlier for animals and flowers, so I can have those separated from my main journal. You also have the ability to show different entries based on map location. And you have the ability to have inline images and adjust those accordingly. Just like that. And the Music app gets the new auto mix feature. And you can access this right here in the upper right-hand corner. And basically what this will do is that it will beat match and adjust the tempo when fading between two songs, much like a DJ would. And this is for songs that are available on Apple Music. So the transition between two songs is going to be a lot more natural than just a simple fade between two songs. So it's just going to keep the party going, so to speak. You also have pins, as you can see there, supported within the library and the sidebar here on macOS. Independent item, you can pin a song or playlist or an album. Just right click, select pin, and that pin will show up under your pins list in your sidebar. And if you're a MacBook user, Tahoe brings some UI updates to the battery panel in settings. And the clock app gets snooze durations now, so you can choose between 1 minute all the way up to 15 minutes. So I'm going to choose 3 minutes and then go ahead and save that. And when I go back in, you can see that snooze duration is set to 3 minutes. And the Terminal app gets new terminal themes, 2 new themes. So you get a clear dark and a clear light. You can see examples of those to the right, which look great. So when I move over, you can see how those shine through or are translucent. The black one, the dark one, it does it a little bit better than the light one, of course. It's a little bit more obvious, but there's also updated fonts. So you have additional fonts that you can have in here. And you'll also find some new fonts in the list of the font picker as well. And Tahoe supports ASIF, or Apple Sparse Image Format. It lets you create virtualized disk images with a virtualized file format that can be formatted to any kind of file system. So when I select new blank image, I can set up my parameters and choose for my image format the Apple Sparse Image Format. And finally, when upgrading from macOS Sequoia to new versions of macOS, you're going to find more information about those updates, a lot more verbose information. But not just that, if you click learn more about this update, you get the software update gallery, which walks you through all the new features, all the prominent new features of that update. So if you're a Sequoia user, you can kind of get a preview of what Tahoe is going to bring you in this update gallery. So tell me, what's your favorite new Tahoe feature? Special thanks to iMazing for sponsoring 9 to 5 Mac. It's ready for iOS 26 and the iPhone 17 lineup, and it lets you do things that Apple's own tools don't. Click the link in the description to get your 20% discounted license today.